Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by John, as I am each and every week. How you doing, John?
Hey, Andrew, what's up?
Not much. You can follow John on Twitter at Suncast. He is the admin here at the GFQ Network. He is the webmaster here at the GFQ Network. He is pretty much everything we do here that is posted on the website or edited. Pretty much anything on that you see here right now at the GFQ Network is going through him. If you have complaints...
Including you.
Including me, actually. What we do, I route my video back to him, and then he sends it back to me.
You can't see it, but I'm typing on my keyboard, and everything that I'm typing is what Andrew is doing.
Yeah, I'm actually a robot. That's the truth.
He's got a USB cord plugged into him, so everything I type just goes directly into Andrew.
Yeah, that's how it works.
This is real time, by the way.
It's all real time. See, he just said that, and I said it back. You can follow us on Twitter at GFQ Network. Of course, you can follow me at Andrew Zarin. We have a lot to talk about today. But before we do that, John, after the holidays, things are settling down. CES, we covered it last week. And it really seems like 4K is the big story, which it is. It's a humongous story. Tremendous resolution on these TVs. They look beautiful. But now that we're getting more and more information about 4K, and it seems like more people are going to be purchasing these 4K sets, there's a couple issues here. One, we're going to talk about the United States, for example, right now. Only 12% of the world's broadband has the ability to view 4K content online, technically. We're going based on the 15 megabits per second streaming for sufficient connectivity. Akamai. Yeah, Akamai's putting this out. But in the United States, only 12% of internet homes have the ability to access 4K content.
Andrew.
19%, sorry. 12% for the world, 19% for the US. And this is not good, considering this is supposed to be the big 4K boom. And we've spoken about 4K. We've had heated debates about 4K. I personally, I'm not standardized. I don't think 4K is standardized with the color settings yet. There's some issues here and there with 4K, so I'm holding off. And this really started when I was planning on purchasing a new television over the holidays. And I was looking at 4K sets. And everybody was telling me, you should get a 4K set, you should get a 4K set. And then I thought about it, and I passed on the offer. I'm not getting a 4K set. I have yet to buy a TV. That's a whole different story. I can't make up my mind on what to buy, but I'm passing out on 4K. I'm not going to do 4K yet because I don't think there's sufficient content enough for me. I don't want to search the web trying to find content. Obviously, Netflix has content. Amazon has 4K content. I heard Hulu's going to be adding 4K.
For you is what you're saying.
It's too what?
It's too much work for you.
Well, no, not with those things, but yeah, kind of, right? And I'm thinking I could find it.
What 4K content is out there is going to be some work.
Sure, let's say Netflix, right? Because I have Netflix and I have Amazon, so only 4K
and not
content.
even everything on Netflix and Amazon is 4K.
Absolutely.
I mean, if it's an Amazon show or a Netflix show, chances are high that it is. But pretty much anything else is not going to be 4K.
And there are many. I watch two Netflix shows. I watch three. I watch Horseman Jacksman, whatever that thing is. That horse show.
Horseman?
BoJack Horseman. I watch BoJack Horseman, which it doesn't really matter for that.
You don't even know what you watch.
I like that guy because he's a drunk like me. I watch BoJack Horseman. I watch House of Cards, and I watch Orange Is the New Black. So 3 shows, really. Amazon's going to be adding stuff too, obviously, but it's still limited content, especially for the mainstream. And when you're buying a 4K TV, a lot of people, majority of people, are not thinking, okay, I'm going to go sign up for Netflix and I'm going to watch House of Cards on there. They're thinking, I want to watch the Super Bowl. I want to watch football. I want to watch basketball. I want to watch the Olympics. I want to watch, the network television. And we're not there yet. We will get there, but we're not
getting
there.
There was a game, I believe, this week, the Knicks game was 4K.
Was it really?
I think so.
And where did they air it?
I'm not sure. I really don't know. I didn't read that much into it. I just read the headline that the Knicks game was going to be in 4K.
Yeah, the NBA's first 4K broadcast unfortunately involves the Knicks. Engadget posted this. The good news is it's going to be an ultra high def. That's going to be the Knicks. Currently,
Bad news,
5 to
only about
35
4
Knicks.
people will actually be able to see it in 4K.
But where are they going to air this? Where are they
On
airing
whatever
this?
network that it's supposed to be on, I guess.
But
Or is it on just online?
I'm curious. See, this is a really crappy story here that they posted. They're saying,
Is there a source link for it?
Let's see.
See if
Sports
there's a
Business
source link.
Daily is a source link. NBA to produce global games event in 4K Ultra HD, and it's going to take place at the O2 Arena. So you will be shown to invited guests at the O2 Arena. So this isn't really 4K. You're going to an arena to watch a sports game. So
Which
again,
is the same thing that they do with theaters.
and it's going to be at the
you know
NBA
how you
headquarters.
can do all those what is it? Those Live Nation events or whatever.
Yeah. It's also going to be at the NBA headquarters in New York City. So again, very limited content right now. It's getting there, but my viewpoint is 3 to 5 years it'll get there. Some people are saying no, it's going to be here this year. It's going to become mainstream next year. So that's the debate here. But the fact that only 19% of the United States is capable of getting
And this is
steady
down
HD.
2.3% versus the previous quarter.
It's down.
Which is interesting.
How
is
does
the
that
fact
happen?
that we actually have speeds dropping in the United States.
I guess so, right? It makes more sense with more places getting connected, more rural areas in the United States getting connected. And I'm sure now that we're saying this, there's going to be somebody from outside the U.S. saying, well, yeah, your internet sucks. Well, or they'll say, where I am, everybody has 50
like
megabits
Swamp
a
Rat,
second.
who only has DSL.
Yeah, Swamp Rat in our chat room only has DSL. So, but you have to remember, the United
I'm
States
sorry,
is
Swamp
gigantic.
Rat.
It's a very big country. We have 300 and plus million people living in this country. It's harder to wire everything compared to a nation like South Korea or France or even the UK. So a lot of this stuff, it's not even Steven, numbers. Like for right now, two-thirds of South Korea has the ability to stream 4K content, 66%, according to Akamai. Hong Kong 37, Japan 33, Switzerland 30. So the United States is kind of behind, but this is the problem in this country where broadband is not even. Like I have 150 by 150 speeds. You
That's
have what?
nuts.
20? What do you have? 25 by 25 or
I have 50 by 10.
50 by 10?
50 down, 10 up.
10 up.
I have absolutely no idea when I might get a speed increase.
But-
they kind of sort of did some speed increases last year or in 2013, excuse me. But I don't think I've really gotten a speed increase other than actually paying for a speed increase.
Well, I'll tell you, the people across the street have Time Warner, and they have 25 by 5. So how could you have 25 by 5?
That's nice that it's symmetrical, but that's still 25 by 5. At this point in time, it's one of those things like when you go and get a 5.5-inch phone, you don't go back to a smaller phone.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Once you have 50 megabits per second down, you can't go back and have 25 megabits per second down. That's not going to fly with me. I'm not going to be able to go to AT&T in my area, which only offers at max 24 megabits per second down.
Yeah, it's
There's
not
no
competitive.
way I can do that.
It's crazy that it's not really competitive considering across the street is Time Warner and we have Fios here, and the numbers are still astronomically different, and the price is the same. I pay less for 150 megabits by 150 megabits compared to the person that's paying, the same amount for
The fact that you can have Google
The fact that
offering
you can have
Google
Google.
Fiber,
So
which is 1 gigabit per second down, 1 gigabyte per second up for like $70 a month.
So a lot of this plays into the whole 4K thing, but John had an article that President Obama wants America to have faster and cheaper internet. So do you want to go into this one? This is according to the Washington Post.
Yeah, I didn't read a whole lot about this because obviously it's a very somewhat political story, but there's some good stuff here. President Obama this week, I think it was yesterday or the day before, Wednesday, where he was coming out talking about that that we should really change the way that we offer competition for broadband internet in the United States. And I completely agree in the sense that he lays out exactly one of the areas where we have issues. And one of these areas is municipal internet service. A lot of the bigger companies out there, Comcast and Time Warner Cable, are actually against local
A
governments going
municipality,
out and
yeah.
rolling out their own internet service provider. There are actually laws on the books in these areas and statewide that would prohibit local communities, local governments from actually starting their own local internet service provider. And this is one of the things that President Obama says that he wants to change. And he's writing up a letter to the FCC urging that they neutralize laws that protect established internet companies against the competition of municipal internet service.
Yeah, see, I don't want any government service, right? Like, this is my point of view. I don't want to sign up for a government internet speed. I don't want to get government cell phones. I don't want to get government television. I don't want that. But there are people that can benefit from that. The argument is, okay,
I don't think there should be laws prohibiting it.
I think we should be given an option, obviously, but
Absolutely.
it gets sticky here because
And
do we
but
need
that's
regulation?
part of competition is having that choice.
But do we need
And
we
with
need
those
government
laws on the
regulation
books,
doing this?
You don't even have that choice.
But do we need government regulation stepping in and saying, okay, now we're going to start competing with you to make you compete more?
I think part of this is, I think part of the reason why a lot of these local municipalities start their own internet service provider is to better provide internet to their communities, because these companies just have been so far behind in delivering better internet to local communities. I think that's one of the big reasons. You'll see a lot of local communities, especially like in Tennessee. There's a couple of communities that have gigabyte internet service that they've provided locally through the local government, and that's one of the reasons why they've done this. And bigger companies, corporations, don't want local communities to do that.
So here's where I see this. Will this drive? So small municipalities, obviously, it's easier for them to do this. But
Yeah, you're talking about as if it was Bayside that started their own internet service provider. If
Yeah.
Bayside had their own ISP that offered you 1 gigabyte per second up and 1 gigabyte per second down for, let's say $120 per month, would you be interested in something like that?
I don't. Well, here's the thing. I would if I wasn't, Andrew Zarian doing this for a living. That I need, I need to know that I could do whatever I want on this line. I don't know if government regulation works in that sense, or government competition works in that sense for me. But I think for most people, they're going to sign up for that because it's probably going to be cheaper than what the ISP is offering. It's probably going to be faster than what the ISP is offering currently at this moment.
Right.
So
it all comes down to competition, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. I understand you're fearful of government regulation stepping in and controlling what you can do with that internet service.
Would you get it?
I probably would.
You would.
I probably would if I had the option, even if it was government provided for 1 gigabyte per second up, 1 gigabyte per second down. I'd probably do it.
Yeah, this is interesting because this is going to be the next step. That this next decade is going to really rely heavily on, especially when we talk about media consumption and entertainment. It's going to really rely heavily on the way we are getting this information. And obviously, the speeds right now that we have is not sufficient enough to get 4K content. Some people can't do HD content. I get emails all the time. We have I think it's like a 1.2 megabit stream. There are people that message me all the time saying they cannot watch our video feed because they have DSL and there's no other option in their area. And that's crazy because the gap is so big. It was never that big between crappy internet and really good internet, right? You had 56K and then you had DSL, and mostly everybody was able to get DSL. And after that, the gap opened up. There's so much.
And part of it, too, is just the FCC's definition of broadband. I know that this has been brought up on other shows such as Daily Tech News Weekly or Daily Tech News Show, where the definition of broadband is like 5 or 6 megabits per second down. That is the starting point of
For
what
broadband.
they consider broadband, which is below the 15 megabits per second that it's considered 4K ready.
Well, we gave the story that they wanted to redefine broadband, right, a couple months ago, and they were discussing that what was it, like 11 megabits per second would be considered broadband. It was something weird like that. That's how they identified the name. But I mean, the identification of broadband has started after DSL or during DSL.
Yeah.
Anything. I mean, that was considered broadband at the time, and it just hasn't been updated.
I don't understand how anybody could live off.
It's really silly because bits are bits. They're not. It's not costing Time Warner more bits, by giving you 10 megabits instead of 5 megabits.
Right.
At the end of the day, they're deciding that they want to throttle this for you. They want to give you less and charge you more.
Yep.
And that's how it comes. When you look at Verizon and you look at Time Warner and you look at Comcast, and let's say they're all $80 a month, and one is offering you half the speed and the other one is offering you double the speed. It's not cost. I mean, as far as infrastructure, it's going to be about the same cost for both. So it's a really messed up situation right now for many people. And I'd like to hear from you guys. If you guys have DSL and you can't get anything else, or you only have one brand or one company that you could go through for your ISP and it's not good, let us know, because I'm really curious on what people outside of my area are getting. New York, Chicago, Philadelphia, major cities.
There's a website called ispprovidersinmyarea.com. I'm actually going to link this in the chat room for you guys. And I was actually looking at some of this stuff the other day, and this website will actually tell you city by city, state by state, what internet providers are in your area. Now, granted, some of the providers are like, other providers of the same service, where you have, say you have Time Warner Cable, but you also have those other people that resell Time Warner Cable internet service.
Yeah, so there's a website. Is that broadbandmap.gov? Is that the one that you linked to? No, ISP
no, this
providers.
is
okay.
ispprovidersinmyarea.com. So, like in my area, it'll list AT&T, Comcast, Charter, and I think one other one. But other than AT&T and Comcast, none of the other ISPs in this area are actually broadband that offer more than like DSL service.
So according
other than
to
AT&T and Comcast, there's no other option in my area for broadband service.
So according
that's
to
faster than DSL.
According to this website, broadbandmap.gov, I guess it's a government website, I have three ISPs in my area offering broadband, and they're defining it as above 3 megabits a second. So you have Verizon Fios, which is 50 to 100, Time Warner 50 to 100, which we have more. Obviously, this hasn't been updated. It was updated last year. And Platinum Equity LLC 10 to 25. I've never heard of Platinum Equity LLC. I have no idea what they are. I'm assuming it's a DSL. They offer symmetrical DSL and asymmetrical DSL.
Yeah, also some of the people on the list are like the cell phone carrier. The cell phone carriers will come up in these searches. Yeah. Like T-Mobile comes up for me. And I don't necessarily consider them a broadband provider in the sense that you're still paying for a limited amount of bandwidth, whereby if you're going with T-Mobile, you're probably paying, almost $100 for 10 gigabytes of data.
Yeah. So I'll give you an interesting example. So Jessica went yesterday to get an iPhone 6 because her iPhone 5 was on its way out. A lot of battery usage. So she went to go get an iPhone 6, and at Verizon, she signed up for the Edge package for her phone. Mm-hmm. And we've discussed this, and it ended up, she did the math, and it's going to cost, it's going to be less money for us a month. But in return, they're like, listen, you have 10 megabits, 10 gigabit package. You know what? We're going to upgrade you for free to 20. So on my 4G, on my LTE plan for Verizon, I have 20 megabits now, 20 gigabits, which is really, it's pretty good. Is that going to be the future where they're just going to constantly up this? Because I was very impressed by that they're just giving away 10 and they just upgraded us for free.
I think part of it is a gimmick. I don't know that. Is that something that only limited for like a year?
No. They just up their package at the same price. So that's going to be really the feature of broadband. I don't think it's going to be a wired connection to your house. That's not the feature of broadband. The feature of broadband,
Sure.
The feature of connectivity is having one phone or one device and just being able to just access everything on there. And unfortunately, they're not doing that right now. It's been a really slow start for 4G.
No, my whole deal was, and I see what you're saying about that, but my deal is the fact that with what we do, there's no way that we could
Over 4G,
do
no.
it for 20
No.
gigabytes a month.
No.
There's just no way we do that in a day.
I'm going to give you an example. You know what they're going to do? I will predict this because I was right about Google Glass on the prediction show. So I'm going to predict this right now. Within the next 5 years, these ISPs are going to come out and say, "Oh, listen, we don't want to wire your neighborhood, right? We don't have existing cable in there. We don't have existing wires in there. So what we're going to do, we're going to offer you the same package or similar package to what we would give you at home. So 20 megabits a second or 20 megabits per second download, and maybe 5 upload. But we're going to offer it over 4G. And it's going to be the same price. And that way they're going to get everybody connected. Instead of having to run infrastructure to their area, it's already there. The antenna's up there. So if you have 4G in your area, you have LTE, they're not gonna cap you like they normally would to someone that has all these other, options. It may not be fair, but it's going to be the cheapest and quickest way for them to kind of go into these markets.
Yeah.
I see that happening, where they're going to offer different packages depending on where you live instead of having one global rate. So that's my prediction with that. What do you think, John?
It's possible. I'm not a big fan of something like that. I mean, it makes sense in some regards that it's easier because it's all wireless, and they'll actually probably make more money doing that. But that's what I'm skeptical about it is that I'm going to end up getting less for my money.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen. Going to another story, John. What do you have for us?
So we had another rumor this week that Samsung was eyeing a takeover of BlackBerry. According to Reuters, Samsung execs recently met with their BlackBerry counterparts and reportedly offered as much as $7.5 billion for the Canadian firm.
Wow.
Samsung is particularly interested in their patent portfolio, which they have like 44,000 patents.
Oh, they have tremendous. They have a
that's
tremendous
really
patent.
the bulk of what makes BlackBerry worth it to somebody to take over.
Yeah, I'm looking at this, and they honestly they also have QNX, which is becoming very successful in the car market. It's one of the main connected car platforms currently. They really beat out Microsoft in that. I know Microsoft was pretty aggressive, but almost every car manufacturer that has a smart, and I'm using that term loosely, a smart car is QNX. Jeep has it now. Ford is doing it with their new Sync. I'm trying to think who else. Infiniti uses QNX. And by the way, QNX has been around for a while, that platform. And it may not be the same interface on all of them. The back end is all QNX. So there is money in QNX. It's just not on the phone.
Right.
So the value. What do you see the value in BlackBerry? I can't believe this company is still here in the retail market. I thought they would go away. They would hang on to their patents. They would hang on to their servers. They would become a service more than a sell company.
Well, I think that's kind of what they've done in ways that they've changed themselves. They've kind of scaled themselves back, and their CEO denies the fact that they're even in any sort of negotiations with Samsung. But John Chen, the current CEO, I just don't see him allowing anybody to take them over. I don't think he's done doing what he wants to do with BlackBerry, which is to make it a much smaller company, but more enterprise focused, more business focused.
Yeah, I mean they have a tremendous amount of.
Unfortunate for anybody that wants BlackBerry as a consumer device.
No, they have a lot of BlackBerry enterprise applications and solutions, but as far as the retail market goes, I mean, what do they have? They have that Passport sold out. I have no idea why. They have the BlackBerry Classic, which is the one with the keyboard, and then they got the Z30.
Phones, I don't know. What was that latest one? Was the Passport the square one?
Yeah, Passport's a square one.
I just don't. I don't understand their point of phones these days.
I mean,
really
it's interesting because it's a high display and it gives you 30 hours of battery life. So it's a weird little phone. I mean, it's a bizarre thing, and it's sold really well according to them. And then you have the Z30, which is their platform, their consumer level phone. It's a phenomenal phone. It works great. I actually really like the BlackBerry OS. It just never caught on. It came out too late. If this phone,
Yeah,
if BlackBerry had decided and got their act together 3 years ago, it'd be a totally different story right now.
absolutely. But I think they by the time they started changing direction, they were 5 years too late.
Yeah, yeah. It
And that
was
was the
near the end.
problem is that they turned way too late.
But it's amazing that we had all these applications like WebOS, for example. WebOS is a really good operating system. I can't say anything bad about it. I really thought there would be a feature in WebOS, but they just couldn't survive. HP did not do much with them. LG now is incorporating them in televisions. I'm surprised they haven't decided that they're going to switch to WebOS on their phones, or at least have one phone that's WebOS. But I mean, it was a great operating system, and it fell in the wrong hands. Palm ran out of money. HP didn't do anything with it. Now LG's putting it in TVs.
Yeah.
What do you do with
Too little,
QNX?
too late.
What do you do with QNX if BlackBerry sells to Samsung? Samsung already has their own operating system. They're running
Well, it's all
Android.
patents.
The patents. No, but
It's
what do you do
strictly
with
about
QNX?
patents that BlackBerry has.
Do you kill QNX?
That's a tough call. Probably not. I think QNX is still one of those platforms that even though BlackBerry acquired QNX, I think QNX still in large part stands on its own aside from BlackBerry. Yes, BlackBerry owns it, but it's still very much still QNX. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, but QNX
I
is
still
tremendous.
think that QNX is largely operated separately from BlackBerry. What BlackBerry does with their devices and business service for their BlackBerry devices is very much different than their QNX business.
I see here. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, QNX has been around for a long time, but as far as the retail market goes, as far as the consumer market goes, what do you do with QNX? That's the question. If you're
They still
Samsung,
provide some great stuff for cars. They do digital dashboards for high end cars, basically.
yeah, no, they
And
do it
that's
for
some
everything.
really cool stuff.
No, well, I mean, almost every car right now has QNX in the back end. It's tremendous.
I could possibly see with some of the stuff that QNX has done, them having a future in cars where technology becomes way more advanced and just having more stuff in your windshield, you know?
Yeah. See, I went to an AT&T
That
event.
could all be done by QNX.
I went to an AT&T event a couple of years ago, and they were displaying this. It was all about AT&T in the future, right? That was the whole concept of this event. And they took us outside and they showed us this Porsche. And this is before BlackBerry put out the QNX OS, and before this is maybe like 4 years ago, but they still had QNX. And they were talking about this, and they were saying the Porsche is powered by BlackBerry, and it's running this operating system QNX, which you guys have probably never heard of, but almost every car is running QNX on the back end if it has a navigation or it has, smart display. And they were really banking on BlackBerry in the car will be the future.
Some of those are really crappy, though, by the way.
I know most of them are, but I mean the operating system is QNX in the back end. But the whole point was BlackBerry in the car. And you think about this, they could have had such a tremendous market, and they were so late on acting on it, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious to see where this goes. It's going to be an interesting year for BlackBerry because they're either going to fade away this year or they're still hanging on for dear life. It's amazing. They've been on life support for so long. He just won't die. I mean, it's amazing. Going to another story, John.
So this is a story I'm kind of excited to hear about. Restaurants will soon be able to take any mobile payment at the table. Basically, there's a company called Verifone, which makes a lot of devices for credit card processing and taking your credit card. They have a new Payware Mobile E355 wireless terminal that will let a store accept any mobile payment that you have wherever you happen to be. It'll take Apple Pay, Google Wallet, and any other NFC tap-to-pay transaction. So this is kind of a really cool idea whereby security-wise, this is something that I really, really dig is this whole mobile payment kind of thing, especially doing it Apple Pay does things, whereby you don't actually give the merchant your actual credit card. Apple Pay generates a temporary number that it gives to your place, the store that you're going to buy stuff
Yeah.
from, and that's what they have. So your actual credit card number is still very secure, locked up with Apple.
Yeah.
Uh, but one of the problems is here in the United States, when you go and pay for food at a restaurant, they take your credit card. You have absolutely no idea where they go and what they do with it once they've got it.
I never knew that was such a big issue until I made a couple friends from Europe. We started doing this, and I've made friends with a lot of Europeans and a lot of people from England, and they're
Yeah.
astonished at that. I have relatives from France, and they came over last summer, and they go, I'm amazed. Like, you guys actually give your credit card, and they walk away with it. He's like, we don't do that. We don't walk away. Like, we don't give a credit card to someone and they walk away with it. And they were actually caught off guard by that concept.
Right.
To like give a credit card and just walk away with it. So
But this
I don't know if this is gonna
this
work.
combines two things that I think are really needed here in the United States is being able to take payment at the table, but then also being able to take mobile payments, which is even more secure than giving somebody your credit card. Because personally, in my opinion, even if they come to your table with a credit card reader, they could still tamper with that credit card machine and steal your information, even if they're right there at the table with you.
do you think like how soon do you think it's going to take for mobile payments to kind of catch on? Because I predicted that we're not going to see this huge boom this year in mobile payments.
It might be by the end of the year before we start really seeing stuff, because I think a lot of it is still rolling out. Apple Pay was still recently announced. It's still very new. Until more people have adopted it and it's in more phones
Yeah.
and people are more aware of it, I still think most people are not aware of mobile payments, such as Google Wallet and Apple Pay. And I don't think the infrastructure is quite there yet. And it's still somewhat confusing in terms of who accepts it. How do you know a place accepts mobile payments? How do I know that the store that I'm going to accepts Apple Pay? How do I know that the store I'm going to? Because this is what's confusing.
I don't know, John.
We've had this discussion about that merchant customer exchange company that has like Walmart and a bunch of other companies signed up, and they weren't allowing you to take Apple Pay payments. And so
Yeah.
how do you know that you can go to a store with an Apple phone, use your Apple Pay mobile payment service and pay for something there?
So, but here's my issue with this. I have not been to one restaurant where they've accepted any kind of mobile payment. I don't know one restaurant that does. I go out to eat all the time, all different places. I have not been to one
I think
restaurant
part of that too,
accepts
though,
it.
is the cycle at which they change their point of sale systems. Because I think that's a large part of it is the replacement cycle of point of sale systems in restaurants and retail locations. How often are they replacing that equipment?
Oh,
And
probably.
how much is it going to cost them?
I mean, most probably. I mean, every 10 years, you want to say, because POS systems are not cheap.
Right.
I think a lot of people are jumping over and they're using iPads and they're using an iPad and they're doing their mobile system like that. But if this is working for you, why are you going to switch over?
Right.
You know, I don't think restaurants are looking to switch over their their POS
I
systems.
think we'll get there at some point. I think it's still very much new and very much slow.
It is slow, and listen, I don't think people are thinking about that. A restaurant is not thinking about accepting mobile payment, and that's gonna increase the revenue.
Yeah.
If it works, it works. I don't think, for example, I don't think Press 195 is even thinking about accepting mobile payments. It's not even a thought in their minds.
But I do think we need more of a mobile payment type of system whereby you're not necessarily giving out your actual credit card number. You have something to act as an intermediary. I can't even say that word. Something as a go-between that won't actually give you wherever you're paying or wherever you're using that card, the actual credit card number.
Yeah.
Because this is something I think is still very much a problem is credit card fraud here in the United States.
Oh, it's so easy.
It just
it's
happens
so easy
way
now.
too often.
But John, it is so easy for somebody to grab your credit card information and go out and just buy stuff. I mean, a lot of times the numbers are all random. They like, for example, I just got a new credit card from Citibank, right? I lost my credit card. Do you know what they did with the replacement card? They replaced 2 numbers. Same layout, but they changed one number from a 3 to a 5 and the other one from an 8 to a 9. That was it. Same expiration.
There's a new show coming out on National Geographic Channel. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called Hacking the System, and it's done by a guy by the name of Brian Brushwood. And this is actually one of the things that they
never
discuss
heard of
on
Brian.
Hacking the System.
Who's this Brian Brushwood you're talking about? Never heard of him.
This whole season, this Hacking the System show debuts on National Geographic, I think January 19th, in a few days at 9 p.m. Eastern. And this is one of those things that they talk about on the show is they have one of their friends who are like, all right, here's 2 ATM machines. Can you tell me which one of these is tampered with? And the guy can't tell a difference.
Yeah, you can't. It's very difficult.
And that's scary because how do you protect yourself from something that you can't even tell?
Yeah.
Unless you can start to think for 5 minutes. And when you're on the go, you're trying to do stuff, you're running errands, you're not going to spend 5 minutes making sure that something's not tampered with. And there was another article out this week where where some county found a tampered ATM, and basically they were using an old iPod Shuffle to record people entering in their PIN number.
Wow.
On ATM machines.
Yeah.
And you could barely tell it was there. You can't tell if a machine's been tampered with and the skimmer is set or rigged to take your credit card information.
I think that every time I go to pay the train, like to get the ticket to the train, because there was a big problem in my neighborhood where somebody put like a bogus credit card scanner in there and they were just grabbing people's information. And how would you know? How would anybody know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's scary. Really scary.
That's why I think that this whole mobile payment system that is starting to be revolutionized and whatnot, I think it's a great idea in terms of security and preventing fraud like we have today.
Yeah. Going to another story, John. What do you got for me?
So another interesting article this week is that Elon Musk is donating $10 million to keep AI from going full-on Skynet. Elon Musk hasn't been shy about bringing up the potential dangers of artificial intelligence. Now he's actually doing something to help out and prevent an AI takeover. He announced this week that he's donating $10 million to, I believe, the Future of Life Institute, or FLI, for a research program that will focus on keeping AI beneficial to humanity. What do you think about artificial intelligence? Is that something that you're concerned about, such as Elon Musk and Stephen Hawking are?
Listen, I'm concerned with, am I going to get too drunk tomorrow at the bar? I'm not concerned with robots taking over the world right now. That is not even a thought that I have on a regular basis. I don't know. Do you think that's a possibility? I mean, how far are we from robots being self-aware and kind of saying, no, screw you people. I'm going to do what I want. I don't think, I think before that happens, we'll realize a way to prevent that from happening. You know?
But you can kind of theorize that one day machines will be able to process and learn so fast that they could potentially take something over and you won't have any way to stop the machine whatsoever.
You unplug it. How do you stop? You unplug the machine.
Well, what if it's transferred itself to a bunch of other systems? Wow. You got to unplug all of the systems?
And then we have to get...
What if it's like malware?
Then we have to get a robot to go into the past to prevent this from happening. That's how it works. And then it's Terminator and it's 1984. That's how we do it. We get Arnold Schwarzenegger to go back into the past to prevent the AIs from taking over. I don't know. Listen, this is a
Stephen Hawking from the future.
It's a fascinating story. I mean,
I warned you about this AI stuff.
The fact that this person is donating $10 million of his fortune to prevent robots from taking over. It's like it's like you're like crazy
Come
grandparents.
on.
It's like your crazy grandparents that are like, well, those computers, they're taking over everything. We're losing our jobs to these computers. Yeah, listen, I think we're nowhere near that.
But you don't think it's okay for them to just, at least explore the possibility of what we might do to
When this
prevent
happens, I don't know.
something
Listen,
like that from happening.
I
I mean, because one day the machines could, learn so fast that we can't control them.
I don't know. This is like nuts, to be honest. It's like I can't even fathom when
It's
that
his
would happen.
money. He can do with it what he wants.
My MacBook just shut down yesterday. That's as far as technology has gotten to me. It just shut down. I didn't even know what happened. So I think we're way that. I mean, we're talking. You know what? Before that happens, we're gonna kill ourselves. I mean, humanity's just gonna self-destruct. We're all gonna murder each other. It's gonna be a nuclear holocaust. So we never have to worry about that. That's not gonna happen. I think we'll destroy ourselves before the machine takes over and kills us all.
I don't see anything wrong with this. I really don't. I mean, sure, that possibly exists in some form. Sure, you might be right that you could just unplug whatever the machine is. But why not be a little bit more on the safe side than sorry side?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, listen, I think it's an interesting story. Let the machines. You know what? I want the machines to take over. We might be in a way better world with the machines taking over.
There was that one study that said that robot overlords that programmed humans, the humans were actually more satisfied with a robot overlord.
I would love that. I want a robot to tell me what to do and when to do it.
Rather than some other person telling them what to do.
Listen, the reality is you're a robot. You're not a real boy. You're just in the computer. You're a figment of my imagination, and I just created you one day.
This is very advanced virtual reality.
What was that movie?
Nobody knows if I actually exist in real life.
What was that movie with Al Pacino where he like made an AI? He was like in the computer and he fell in love with it. It was like Noel or something like that. It was some weird movie. I'm sure somebody in our chat room. So it's pretty much he programmed this woman in the computer and then he fell in love with her. That's what's happening with us. I programmed you, and now I'm falling in love with you, John.
There was that Joaquin Phoenix or whatever film,
No,
Tarantino film or whatever.
No, this was Al Pacino. He fell in love with the robot. I think the robot was Cameron Diaz.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. That wasn't Al Pacino.
Are you sure? I thought it was Al
Yeah.
Pacino.
It was called Her, wasn't it?
No.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up right now. There was a movie called Her.
Al.
There was two of them. There was Her and there was somebody else.
Yeah. No. God, what was the name of this? Come on, guys. There was something.
Or was it Scarlett Johansson?
I don't know.
No, that was the one with her.
All right, this is gonna drive me nuts. I'm gonna hijack this show and look for the Al Pacino AI movie. Simone, that's what it was. It was called Simone. It was Simone. That's what it was. Perfect.
Never saw it.
Yeah, I watched it one night. It was late night. I was watching it and I couldn't just stop watching because it was such an awful movie. It wasn't even Cameron Diaz. It was Catherine Keener. I think that's who played it. All right, John, go into another story before we wrap up.
I really want to get your opinion on Microsoft's latest Lumia phones and their strategy with Lumia. They debuted another low-end Lumia device this week that's basically putting Office in your pocket for $80. It's called the Lumia 435. It's mainly for other countries out there, third party or third world
emerging markets.
Basically.
Emerging markets.
Yeah.
So it's the Lumia 435
with low-end Android devices. And that seems to be all that Microsoft is doing with
Listen, it's smart.
Nokia.
I mean, listen, it's a very smart initiative because they already know that the iPhone and Samsung Galaxy S or whatever the Android flavor of the month is really has that market on lock. Those two ecosystems have really saturated the market. So they are approaching this in a very different way. Yeah, they have great high-end devices, but they are concentrating on emerging markets with these lower entry-level phones because their initiative is, okay, well, if we get these people using our ecosystem now, in a couple of years, they're going to be continuing to use our ecosystem. We're going to be able to make a dent in the global number when it comes to usage. So they released a 435 and a 532, and they're nice little phones. They're pretty phones. When I went to Mexico, John, last year, almost everybody that I saw had a Windows phone. Everybody had the 530 or the 535, 531, whatever it was at the time. Everybody was running a Windows phone. I was shocked. It was like Bizarro World. It was like this alternate universe where iPhone never existed, Android never existed, and it was Microsoft that had taken over with their phones. It was actually fascinating to see. But these phones, they're lower-end phones. They're running a 1.2 gigahertz Snapdragon 200 processor. The other one's running a Snapdragon 400 processor. They don't have a lot of space, but you're getting Office on this thing. You're getting the Microsoft App Store. So you're committing to the ecosystem more than anything else. Also, they're not 4G.
They have an ecosystem?
They're not 4G. They're 3G. I guess this is their way of enticing developers to jump to their ecosystem, really.
Listen, I'm fine with all that. I'm fine with them wanting to exploit those markets and compete with Android and whatnot in those markets. My problem is it's been, I think, over a year now
since
we've had a legitimate flagship Windows phone come out.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And this is my whole deal, is that they seem to be so focused on this low-end market that by the time they finally do make a move here with another flagship device, nobody's going to give a crap about Windows Phone anymore.
You know what?
I'm at that point whereby if they don't come out in the next, if they don't come out by Mobile World Congress, which is in March, with another Windows Phone that's a flagship phone here in the United States, that I'm going to write them off.
Yeah,
at that point, it's pretty clear that they don't give a crap about having any sort of competition with the iPhone or flagship Android devices here in the United States.
I also think that's
my concern.
The problem with Windows Phone is that right now they're in this transition period, and next week we're going to find out what the future of Windows Phone is as far as the operating system goes.
Sure,
we don't know,
and I know that a lot of people are like, well, there's no ecosystem, there's no app stores, nobody's making apps for Windows Phone. How are they supposed to make apps when they don't come out with any phones that people want to use here?
Yeah, well, let me to be fair, there are apps. Unfortunately, what happens is companies like Instagram, Snapchat,
they don't even have like a Snapchat app.
Well, I think they do now, but the developers, these major brands need to start developing for that, and they need to entice these companies to invest money in developing an app
for a platform that Microsoft at this point looks like they're not interested in even creating devices.
Well, that's the problem right now. That's honestly the problem. So I'm curious on what we're going to find out. I'm not, next week's announcement. So on Wednesday, it's the big Windows announcement, right? They're going to discuss Windows 10, the future of Windows 10. But more than that, we're going to find out what the future of Windows Mobile is. What are they going to do with RT devices?
Service Pro devices?
Well, what are they going to do with the RT devices? What are they going to do with the Windows Phone platform? They're going to combine those two. Windows Phone and Windows, I guess, RT. Or Windows on ARM.
I feel at this point in time, Microsoft is losing in the mobile market.
They are. They're behind.
They haven't been doing well with any of their Surface Pro devices. Surface RT was a miserable failure. And I don't know. It's just it seems like in a way they've given up, and it's sad because when Windows Phone did come out, Nokia and Lumia phones were pretty nice, but it seems like in the last year or so, it seems like all that effort has been abandoned.
Well, the Icon was the last one for Verizon.
Not going to get anything else.
Yeah,
Microsoft tries so hard with their service devices that. Because nobody bought into it, that they're just going to not do anything anymore with phones.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see on Wednesday, right? We'll find out on Wednesday.
I personally don't give a crap about that event.
Yeah, well, I do.
I don't think we're going to get anything interesting. I don't think there's going to be that much interesting from that event. As far as consumer technology goes, I think a lot of it is going to be business related. I think that's where we're at with this event.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting much from it, which I wish I was, because I see myself at this point in time still more leaning towards a Windows Phone device than I would an Android device. But the problem is by the time that next year rolls around, by the time that I look for a new phone, are there going to be any new phones with Windows Phone on it that's going to be comparable to an iPhone?
Because, yeah, you'd make the jump.
I possibly would. But at this point in time, I'm not interested in because everything that they have out there is at least a year old.
Yeah. All right, John. Wrap it up. Are you ready?
Go for it.
Okay. I just wanted to see. Before we wrap it up, I want to send my condolences to Eric Lanigan's family. We found out this week. We started getting wind of it on Tuesday, but yesterday I was able to confirm that he passed away last February. Eric was a contributor here on the GFQ Network on Tech News Weekly. He was a contributing co-host. He was also on the Twit Network, on the Tech Buzz, on the British Tech Network. It's devastatingly sad to hear, and our thoughts are with his family because he was a contributor, and that's why you have the padded wall behind you.
Yep.
And
I loved having Eric on Tech News Weekly. He always brought a somewhat different viewpoint to things and looked at things a little bit differently than I would or you would.
Yeah.
And I love that about him.
Yeah, it's sad. I wish I got to know him a little bit better. We were getting to know him, and he disconnected totally in 2013. He moved back down to Florida, and after that, we really lost touch. I tried contacting him a few times, and I know a lot of people did, but it was on and off talking, and I got wind that he passed away in February last year, and it's devastatingly sad to hear because he was a great broadcaster. He had an amazing future in this field. He was very intelligent, and he he would have had a tremendous future. So we're really sad to hear that end. Our thoughts are with his family because it has to be tough. He was 27 years old. So on that note, this one's for you, Eric. Bye-bye for now.